Let's do what E.H. Little did. Let's ask for unbiased, helpful, constructive criticism. Part 6 in a nutshell. How to keep from worrying about criticism. Rule 1. Unjust criticism is often a disguised compliment. It often means that you have aroused jealousy and envy. Remember that no one ever kicks a dead dog. Rule 2. Do the very best you can, and then put up your old umbrella and keep the rain of criticism from running down the back of your neck. Rule 3. Let's keep a record of the fool things we've done and criticize ourselves. Since we can't hope to be perfect, let's do what E.H. Little did. Let's ask for unbiased, helpful, constructive criticism. Part 7. 6 ways to prevent fatigue and worry, and keep your energy and spirits high. Chapter 23. How to add 1 hour a day to your waking life. Why am I writing a chapter on preventing fatigue in a book on preventing worry? That's simple, because fatigue often produces worry, or at least it makes you susceptible to worry. Any medical student will tell you that fatigue lowers your resistance to the emotions of fear and worry. So preventing fatigue tends to prevent worry. Did I say tends to prevent worry? This is putting it mildly. Dr. Edmund Jacobson goes much further. Dr. Jacobson has written 2 books on relaxation, Progressive Relaxation and You Must Relax. And as director of the University of Chicago Laboratory for Clinical Physiology, he spent years conducting investigations in using relaxation as a method in medical practice. He declares that any nervous or emotional state fails to exist in the presence of complete relaxation. That's another way of saying you cannot continue to worry if you relax. The first rule is rest often. Rest before you get tired. And why is that so important? Because fatigue accumulates with astonishing rapidity. The United States Army has discovered by repeated tests that even young men toughened by years of Army training, can march better, can hold up longer if they throw down their packs and rest 10 minutes out of every hour. So the Army forces them to do just that. Your heart is just as smart as the U.S. Army. Your heart pumps enough blood through your body every day to fill a railway tank car. It exerts enough energy every 24 hours to shovel 20 tons of coal onto a platform 3 feet high. It does this incredible amount of work for 50, 70, maybe 90 years. How can it stand it? Dr. Walter B. Cannon of the Harvard Medical School explained it. He said, most people have the idea that the heart is working all the time. As a matter of fact, there's a definite rest period after each contraction. When beating at a moderate rate of 70 pulses per minute, the heart is actually working only 9 hours out of the 24. In the aggregate, its rest periods total a full 15 hours per day. During World War II, Winston Churchill, in his late 60s and early 70s, was able to work 16 hours a day, year after year, directing the war efforts of the British Empire. A phenomenal record. His secret? He worked in bed each morning until 11 o'clock, reading reports, dictating orders, making telephone calls, and holding important conferences. After lunch, he went to bed again and slept for an hour. In the evening, he went to bed once more and slept for 2 hours before having dinner at 8. He didn't cure fatigue. He didn't have to cure it. He prevented it. Because he rested frequently, he was able to work on, fresh and fit, until long past midnight. The original John D. Rockefeller made 2 extraordinary records. He accumulated the greatest fortune the world had ever seen up to that time, and he also lived to be 98. How did he do it? The chief reason, of course, was because he had inherited a tendency to live long. Another reason was his habit of taking a half-hour nap in his office every noon. He would lie down on his office couch, and not even the President of the United States could get John D. on the phone while he was having his snooze. In his excellent book, Why Be Tired, Daniel W. Joslin observed, "Rest is not a matter of doing absolutely nothing. Rest is repair." There is so much repair power in a short period of rest that even a 5-minute nap will help to forestall fatigue. Connie Mack, the grand old man of baseball, told me that if he didn't take an afternoon nap before a game, he was all tuckered out at around the 5th inning. But if he did go to sleep, if for only 5 minutes, he could last throughout an entire doubleheader without feeling tired. When I asked Eleanor Roosevelt how she was able to carry such an exhausting schedule during the 12 years she was in the White House, she said that before meeting a crowd or making a speech, she would often sit in a chair or davenport, close her eyes, and relax for 20 minutes. I once interviewed Gene Autry in his dressing room at Madison Square Garden, where he was the star attraction at the World's Championship Rodeo. I noticed an army cot in his dressing room. I lie down there every afternoon, Gene Autry said, and get an hour's nap between performances. When I'm making pictures in Hollywood, he continued, I often relax in a big easy chair and get 2 or 3 10-minute naps a day. They buck me up tremendously. Edison attributed his enormous energy and endurance to his habit of sleeping whenever he wanted to. I interviewed Henry Ford shortly before his 80th birthday. I was surprised to see how fresh and fine he looked. I asked him the secret. He said, I never stand up when I can sit down, and I never sit down when I can lie down. Horace Mann, the father of modern education, did the same thing as he grew older. When he was president of Antioch College, he used to stretch out on a couch while interviewing students. I persuaded a motion picture director in Hollywood to try a similar technique. He confessed that it worked miracles. I refer to Jack Chertok, who was one of Hollywood's top directors. When he came to see me several years ago, he was then head of the short feature department of MGM. Worn out and exhausted, he had tried everything, tonics, vitamins, medicine. Nothing helped much. I suggested that he take a vacation a day. How? By stretching out in his office and relaxing while holding conferences with his staff writers. When I saw him again 2 years later, he said, a miracle has happened. That's what my own physicians call it. I used to sit up in my chair, tense and taut, while discussing ideas for our short features. Now, I stretch out on the office couch during these conferences. I feel better than I've felt in 20 years. Work 2 hours a day longer, yet I rarely get tired. How does all this apply to you? If you're a stenographer, you can't take naps in the office, as Edison did, and as Sam Goldwyn did. And if you're an accountant, you can't stretch out on the couch while discussing a financial statement with the boss. But if you live in a small city and go home for lunch, you may be able to take a 10-minute nap after lunch. That is what General George C. Marshall used to do. He felt he was so busy directing the U.S. Army in wartime that he had to rest at noon. If you're over 50 and feel you're too rushed to do it, then buy immediately all the life insurance you can get. Funerals come high, and suddenly these days, and your spouse may want to take your insurance money and marry a younger person. If you can't take a nap at noon, you can at least try to lie down for an hour before the evening meal. It is cheaper than a cocktail, and over a long stretch it is 5,467 times more effective. If you can sleep for an hour around 5, 6, or 7 o'clock, you can add 1 hour a day to your waking life. Why? How? Because an hour's nap before the evening meal, plus 6 hours sleep at night, a total of 7 hours, will do you more good than 8 hours of unbroken sleep. A physical worker can do more work if he takes more time out for rest. Frederick Taylor demonstrated that while working as a scientific management engineer with the Bethlehem Steel Company. He observed that laboring men were loading approximately 12.5 tons of pig iron per man each day on freight cars, and they were exhausted at noon. He made a scientific study of all the fatigue factors involved and declared that these men should be loading not 12.5 tons of pig iron per day, but 47 tons per day. He figured that they ought to do almost 4 times as much as they were doing and not be exhausted. But prove it. Taylor selected a Mr. Schmidt, who was required to work by the stopwatch. Schmidt was told by the man who stood over him with a watch, now pick up a pig and walk, now sit down and rest, now walk, now rest. And what happened? Schmidt carried 47 tons of pig iron each day, while the other men carried only 12.5 tons per man. And he practically never failed to work at this pace during the 3 years that Frederick Taylor was at Bethlehem. Schmidt was able to do this because he rested before he got tired. He worked approximately 26 minutes before he got tired. He worked approximately 26 minutes out of the hour and rested 34 minutes. He rested more than he worked, yet he did almost 4 times as much work as the others. Is this mere hearsay? No, you can read the record yourself on pages 41 through 62 of Principles of Scientific Management by Frederick Winslow Taylor. And let me repeat. Do what the Army does. Take frequent rests. Do what your heart does. Rest before you get tired, and you will add 1 hour a day to your waking life. Chapter 24. What makes you tired and what you can do about it. Here's an astounding and significant fact. Mental work alone can't make you tired. It sounds absurd, but a few years ago, scientists tried to find out how long the human brain could labor without reaching a diminished capacity for work, the scientific definition of fatigue. To the amazement of these scientists, they discovered that blood passing through the brain when it's active shows no fatigue at all. If you took blood from the veins of a day laborer while he was working, you would find it full of fatigue toxins and fatigue products. But if you took a drop of blood from the brain of an Albert Einstein, it would show no fatigue toxins whatever at the end of the day. So far as the brain is concerned, it can work as well and as swiftly at the end of 8 or even 12 hours of effort as at the beginning. The brain is utterly tireless. So what makes you tired? Psychiatrists declare that most of our fatigue derives from our mental and emotional attitudes. One of England's most distinguished psychiatrists, A.J. Hadfield, says in his book, The Psychology of Power, the greater part of the fatigue from which we suffer is of mental origin. In fact, exhaustion of purely physical origin is rare. One of America's most distinguished psychiatrists, Dr. A.A. Brill, goes even further. He declares 100% of the fatigue of the sedentary worker in good health is due to psychological factors, by which we mean emotional factors. What kinds of emotional factors tire the sedentary or sitting worker? Joy? Commitment? No, never. Boredom, resentment, the feeling of not being appreciated, a feeling of futility, hurry, anxiety, worry. Those are the emotional factors that exhaust the sitting worker, make him susceptible to colds, reduce his output, and send him home with a nervous headache. Yes, we get tired because our emotions produce nervous tensions in the body. The Metropolitan Life Insurance Company pointed that out in a leaflet on fatigue. Hard work by itself, says this great life insurance company, seldom causes fatigue, which cannot be cured by a good sleep or rest. Worry, tenseness, and emotional upsets are 3 of the biggest causes of fatigue. Often they're to blame when physical or mental work seems to be the cause. Remember that a tense muscle is a working muscle. Ease up. Save energy for important duties. Stop now, right where you are, and give yourself a checkup. As you read these lines, are you scowling at the book? Are you sitting relaxed in your chair, or are you hunching up your shoulders? Are the muscles of your face tense? Unless your entire body is as limp and relaxed as an old rag doll, you are at this very moment producing nervous tensions and muscular tensions. You are producing nervous tensions and nervous fatigue. Why do we produce these unnecessary tensions in doing mental work? Daniel W. Jocelyn says, I find that the chief obstacle is the almost universal belief that hard work requires a feeling of effort, else it is not well done. So we scowl when we concentrate. We hunch up our shoulders. We call on our muscles to make the motion of effort, which in no way assists our brain in its work. Here's an astonishing and tragic truth. Millions of people who wouldn't dream of wasting dollars go right on wasting and squandering their energy with the recklessness of 7 drunken sailors in Singapore. What is the answer to this nervous fatigue? Relax, relax, relax. Learn to relax while you're doing your work. Easy? No, you'll probably have to reverse the habits of a lifetime. But it is worth the effort, for it may revolutionize your life. William James said in his essay, The Gospel of Relaxation, the American overtension and jerkiness and breathlessness and intensity and agony of expression are bad habits, nothing more or less. Tension is a habit. Relaxing is a habit, and bad habits can be broken, good habits formed. How do you relax? Do you start with your mind or do you start with your nerves? You don't start with either. You always begin to relax with your muscles. Now, let's give it a try. To show how it's done, suppose we start with your eyes. Read this paragraph through, and when you've reached the end, lean back, close your eyes, and say to your eyes silently, let go, stop straining, stop frowning, let go, let go. Repeat this over and over, very slowly, for a minute. Didn't you notice that after a few seconds, the muscles of the eyes began to obey? Didn't you feel as though some hand had wiped away the tension? Well, incredible as it seems, you have sampled in that 1 minute the whole key and secret to the art of relaxing. You can do the same thing with the jaw, with the muscles of the face, with the neck, with the shoulders, the whole of the body. But the most important organ of all is the eye. Dr. Edmund Jacobson of the University of Chicago has gone so far as to say that if you can completely relax the muscles of your eyes, you can forget all your troubles. The reason the eyes are so important in relieving nervous tension is that they burn up 1/4 of all the nervous energies consumed by the body. That is also why so many people with perfectly sound vision suffer from eye strain. They are tensing the eyes. Vicki Baum, the famous novelist, said that when she was a child, she met an old man who taught her one of the most important lessons she ever learned. She had fallen down and cut her knees and hurt her wrist. The old man picked her up. He had once been a circus clown, and as he brushed her off, he said, the reason you injured yourself was because you don't know how to relax. You have to pretend you are as limp as a sock, an old crumpled sock. Come, I'll show you how to do it. That old man taught Vicki Baum and the other children how to fall, how to do flip-flops, and how to turn somersaults. And he always insisted, think of yourself as an old crumpled sock, then you've got to relax. You can relax in odd moments almost anywhere you are. Only don't make an effort to relax. Relaxation is the absence of all tension and effort. Think ease and relaxation. Begin by thinking relaxation of the muscles of your eyes and your face, saying over and over, let go, let go, let go, and relax. Feel the energy flowing out of your facial muscles to the center of your body. Think of yourself as free from tension as a baby. That is what Galacurci, the great soprano, used to do. Helen Jepson told me that she used to see Galakurchi before a performance, sitting in a chair with all her muscles relaxed and her lower jaw so limp it actually sagged. An excellent practice. It kept her from becoming too nervous before her stage entrance. It prevented fatigue. Here are 4 suggestions that will help you learn to relax. 1. Relax in odd moments. Let your body go limp like an old sock. I keep an old maroon-colored sock on my desk as I work. Keep it there as a reminder of how limp I ought to be. If you haven't got a sock, a cat will do. Did you ever pick up a kitten sleeping in the sunshine? If so, both ends sagged like a wet newspaper. Even the yogis in India say that if you want to master the art of relaxation, study the cat. I never saw a tired cat, a cat with a nervous breakdown, or a cat suffering from insomnia, worry, or stomach ulcers. You will probably avoid these disasters if you learn to relax as the cat does. 2. Work as much as possible in a comfortable position. Remember that tensions in the body produce aching shoulders and nervous fatigue. 3. Check yourself 4 or 5 times a day and say to yourself, am I making my work harder than it actually is? Am I using muscles that have nothing to do with the work I'm doing? This will help you form the habit of relaxing. And as Dr. David Harold Fink says, among those who know psychology best, it is habits 2 to 1. 4. Test yourself again at the end of the day by asking yourself, just how tired am I? If I am tired, it's not because of the mental work I have done, but because of the way I have done it. I measure my accomplishments, says Daniel W. Jocelyn, not by how tired I am at the end of the day, but how tired I am not. He says, when I feel particularly tired at the end of the day, or when irritability proves that my nerves are tired, I know beyond question that it has been an inefficient day, both as to quantity and quality. If every businessman in America would learn that same lesson, our death rate from hypertension diseases would drop overnight, and we would stop filling up our sanitariums and asylums with people who have been broken by fatigue and worry.
today's weather?
I can't tell your location because of your settings. Where would you like to hear the weather for?
When your heart is an empty room with walls of the deepest blue. Home space, how it ages when you're away. The spring blooms and you find the love is true. But you don't know what now to do, 'cause the chase is all you know, and you stopped running months ago. And all you see is where else you can be when you're at home. On the street are so many possibilities to not be alone. Flames and smoke climbed out of every window and disappeared with everything that you held dear. But you shed not a single tear for the things that you didn't need, 'cause you knew you were finally free. 'Cause all you see is where else you could be at home. Out on the street are so many possibilities to not be alone. And all you see is where else you can be when you're at home. Out on the street, so many possibilities to not be alone. last night when we blew up his house too. Down on the boardwalk, they're getting ready for a fight. Gonna see what them rocket boys can do. Now there's trouble bustling in from out of state, and the DA can't get no relief. Gonna be a rumble out on the promenade, and the DA commission's hanging on by the skin of his teeth. Everything dies, baby, that's a fact. Maybe everything that dies someday comes back.